Hi everyone. Hi everyone from the Desmond-Fish Public Library, all my friends in Phillipstown and around maybe the globe, who knows. Welcome, welcome to my home and welcome to Storytime with Fancy Nancy. I'm Nancy Montgomery and I am so honored to be here. Um, I just want to have someone send me a note to tell me that this is working because I've not really done this before other than for my son playing music. So if you're there, send me a hello, welcome. You can write a note in the chat box, probably on the right. And I think I'll just wait a few minutes to see if everybody gets settled and to see if I can see who's on. If you're on, send me a hello. Maybe Ben and Rose and May and Sam are on, or Josie and Henry. I'd love to say hi to everyone. Good to see you all. This is a great privilege to be reading to you all today, and I just want to thank the Desmond-Fish Library. I see some of my friends join. They just missed me saying hi to Ben and May and Rose and Sam and Henry and Josie. I had some help in choosing a couple of books, but then just early this morning, I was what we do during quarantine, cleaning out a closet, and I found a book from my childhood. It's a really special book, and I really want to read it to you today. It's called Where Does Everyone Go by Aileen Fisher. And just to make note of the publisher, so there's no trouble here, Thomas Crowell Company in New York. I found this, that my mom was a New York City school teacher, and I can tell from the inside of the book that these were left over. They always had book sales at the end of the year. And I just want you to know I didn't do that. That was probably one of my siblings that did that. We've had this book in our house, ever since I can remember. It was probably there before I was born. The name of this book is called Where Does Everyone Go? And there's a little boy on there that reminded me of my best friend Christopher growing up. And this is a great book for us living in the Hudson Valley because it just conjured images of everything I experienced here as a child in the Hudson Valley. So here we go. Where Does Everyone Go by Aileen Fisher. We'll go slow here because I not so technically savvy, and I want you guys to make sure that you can see these pictures. It's kind of hard to read and show you the pictures at the same time. Other people are really good at this. Where does everyone go? There that boy is again. That's what the woods looks like around here. Let's start. There's a good picture. What happens to everyone in the fall when the days get short and the sun gets small and the leaves go skidding on every breeze and apples are picked from the apple trees and at night the edges of puddles freeze? What happens to everyone? Anyone know? Where in the fall does everyone go? There he is again. I love that kid. I know about birds like wrens and swallows. One flies off and another follows. Over the hills and fields and hollows, they fly away from the frosts of winter. Do they get their maps from a bird map printer? But where in the fall do other things go? Do you know? I went looking up and down for a bug, sort of reddish and orangey brown, with spots on its back like dots on a clown. But there wasn't a ladybug left in town. Sorry. I poked under leaves and ditches. I peered into holes and niches. I peeked over clumps of clover. I turned humps of leaf mold over. I looked under stones where the ground was bare, but there wasn't a ladybug anywhere. Where did they go? I asked Aunt Jo, I asked my mother, I asked one neighbor after another, and now I know. Before the summery weather ends, ladybugs fly to meet their friends and get in touch with cousins and such. On a woodsy mountain or far off hill, they visit together until the weather turns gray and chill, and then they crowd into cracks and creases and yawn and cuddle and sleep their fill till winter gradually falls to pieces and days get warm and the wind is still. That's why, when hills turn buff and brown, there aren't any ladybugs left in town. School time. I want to show you that picture. What happens to everyone when it's cool and leaf boats sink on the black-eyed pool and brothers and sisters stay late at school and wearing a sweater's a very good rule? Where does everyone go? I went looking high and low around the yard and the patio for something that flitted there weeks ago. Where were the fluttery butterflies that used to rise and glide on the breeze? Not in the trees, not in the sky, not in the bushes low and high. Where did they go? This was one of my favorites. I asked my mother, I asked Aunt Jo, I asked a neighbor, and then another. So now I know. It's rather sad, but I guess it's true. Most of the butterflies' lives are through. When summer is old and autumn's new, they don't keep living like me and you. Most of the butterflies freeze to a splinter at the glint, at the squint, at the hint of winter. They've laid their eggs and their lives are over. The frail wings fall to the grass and clover. But that's not the case with the monarchs, though. They fly to a place too sunny for snow. They gather in flocks, they gather in crowds. They sail over rocks, they glide under clouds. They float over ridges and cities and bridges, south, south to butterfly trees, where they take their case away from the blizzards that make us freeze and sniffle and sneeze. That's the reason when fall's in season, you seldom see flitting or sitting. What happens to everyone when it's colder and days are darker and getting older, and a tired out sun looks over your shoulder? Where in the fall does everyone go? I went walking back and forth to the west and east and south and north, to the cattail pond and the marsh beyond, where turtles and frogs used to sit around on moss-covered logs, on moss-covered ground. But there weren't any frogs or warty toads. There weren't any turtles or peepers or lizards. They vanished like wizards. Where did they go? They couldn't fly off like swallows over the hills and hollows, like ladybugs by dozens going to meet their cousins, like monarchs gliding quickly before the snow got tickly. Where did they go? I asked my mother, I asked Aunt Jo, and all the neighbors. So now I know. I have to look at that picture. That's the way the ponds are around here. Just like in my backyard. Hi again, everybody that's popping up on Facebook. When days get breezy and nights get freezy, frogs sink down in the mud and ooze for a good long snooze. It isn't a very clean bed to choose. I'm glad it isn't the kind I use. But frogs aren't queasy, and sleeping is easy, down where it's warm, away from the storm. They're sound asleep during all the blizzards, and so are toads under rocks and lizards. That's why you never see frogs at all, bullfrogs big or peepers small, or hopperty toads when it's half past fall. Hopperty toads. Where's everyone now that the meadow is cold in the autumn shadows? Where are the furry ones, scamper and scurry ones, and a great hurry ones? Where are the chippies, the woodchucks, the bears? Are they all busy with autumn affairs, putting on storm doors and making repairs? Where are the badgers, the bats, and the skunks working on bed socks and quilts for their bunks? Do you know? I looked all over, I looked all day. I looked for woodchucks where the woodchucks stay. I looked for furries, both up and down, plain and with stripes of white and brown. But there weren't any chippies and such in town. Where did they go? I asked Aunt Jo and everyone else. So now I know. Ooh, asleep. Can you see him sleeping? He's asleep. They're all down there. Woodchucks and chippies, skunks and bears, now that it's fall, are snug in their lairs, snug in their dens near roots of trees, curled with their noses between their knees, away from the cold and the biting breeze. They'll sleep in a heap till winter is over, and there's gold in the sun and the green in the clover. I bet some of your front yards look just like that with the deer. That's why you'll only see deer and mice and maybe a weasel once or twice when winter is here, and leap away rabbits and squirrels who haven't such sleep away habits. There's that school again. Where's everyone after school today when the sky is gray and cool and the windows of trees are bare without any curtains of leaves up there? The street is a noisy one as a rule, but now it's quiet when I walk by. Quiet as clouds in the cloudy sky. I wonder why. Where, I wonder, did everyone go? There's my brother. He ought to know. If it starts to rain, it may turn to snow, my brother shouts with his face aglow. Everyone's off in a hustle and bustle to tussle with skis in need of wax and skates to be sharpened and sleds to make tracks. Everyone's digging for winter rigging, my brother shouts, and his feet start jigging. That's the way it felt when we'd see snow for the first time. We have to get ready for winter weather, for flakes coming down as big as a feather, my brother says, as we run together. Everybody's busy getting ready for winter fun. Oh, but I'm glad I'm not a chippy who goes to sleep when the nights get nippy and days get zippy. Oh, but I'm glad I'm not a lizard or beetle or bear who misses a blizzard from A to Izzard. I think of sleeping the winter through or going south for a summer view when it's starting to do what it's starting to do. It's starting to rain, and everyone knows at this time of year when a storm cloud shows, it oftentimes snows. It's starting to rain, and what do you know? It's turning to snow. Okay, this is what I imagined we did, or we always did. And you guys probably flocked to the sleigh riding hill or somewhere, a neighbor's yard, to find a hill. We'll go to the park and have a lark in the snow before dark. We'll climb to the crown of the hill near town and ride our sleds down. We'll glide on our skis past snow-flowered trees and whiz through the breeze. Okay, here's the whole town. What does that remind you of? Hi-ho, just look at it snow, with everyone full of a place to go. And that's the end. I just want you to look at that picture one more time. When I was a kid, I would imagine who the different characters in our town were. And I always thought I wanted to be that little girl pulling her best friend up the hill. And that's the end of that story. I hope you enjoyed it. Where does everyone go? From the archives of the Montgomery home. And now I have a really special one. I asked my stepdaughter, Brooke, what was her favorite book when she was a little girl. And her favorite book was called The Maggie Bee. And I was really fortunate to have my friend Shasta lend this to me because it's her daughter's favorite book too. And I miss my stepdaughter very much, but she's out there in Hollywood, and maybe she's listening. If not, we can send this to her later. But this is her favorite book, called The Maggie Bee by Irene Haas. There's a little note in here from Shasta saying, "Very treasured book, please return." This is published by Aladdin Books, Macmillan Publishing Company, New York. The Maggie Bee. Let's start with the pictures. Next time I do this, I'm going to find a system where I could just have you looking at the pictures and not me. So, this is a story of a wish come true. Margaret Barnstable wished on a star one night. "North Star, star of the sea, I wish for a ship named after me, to sail for a day alone and free with someone nice for company." And then she went off to bed. When she woke up, she was in the cabin of her own ship. It was named the Maggie Bee. After her and the nice company was her brother James, who was a dear baby. A rooster crowed on deck, so Margaret knew the day was about to begin. She took James out to welcome the sun. It warmed them up and brightened the sky. On the poop deck was a tiny farm. There were a goat and some chickens, an apple tree and a peach tree and an orange tree with a toucan perched on a branch. They picked an orange for breakfast. Here's the orange. There's the orange. Okay, back to the orange. Since it was her own little cabin in her own little ship, Margaret worked hard and tidied it up with a joyful hustle-bustle. All the sparkling morning, while she scrubbed the deck and made the ship ready to sail, she sang an old sea chanty. I'm going to try to sing. "Oh, the sailor's life is bold and free, his home is on the rolling sea. Heave ho, me lads, come sail with me." The Maggie Bee was swoon riding the tops of the waves like a bird. In the early afternoon, Margaret and James had a picnic lunch under the apple tree. "What shall we have for supper tonight?" Margaret wondered, as soon as lunch was over. What a lovely idea in her mind. She gathered a basket full of delicious things from the farm, and out of the sea she netted a blue-green lobster and a silvery sea bass. Here's the fish. This is very hard to show you these pictures. I apologize. On her little stove, Margaret set a big pot of broth to bubble and boil. She chopped the vegetables and put them into the pot, and then in went the sweet-smelling herbs, the gleaming, glistening fish, and the knobby, hard-shelled lobster. As she whipped off her apron, she closed her eyes and breathed in the smell of the good sea stew. All afternoon it would simmer and fill the air with its fragrance. The Maggie Bee sailed steadily on. The breeze was gentle, warm, and soft. James had his nap on a velvet pillow, and Margaret painted a handsome portrait of him. The Maggie Bee. After juice and cookie time, she gave James his counting lesson, and this is how she did it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I let him go again. Why did you let him go? Because he bit my finger so. Which finger did he bite? The little one upon the right. And she gave James his little finger a nibble, which made him laugh and laugh, until suddenly he stopped. The sun had disappeared. Margaret and James were cold. The sky grew darker. The goat and chickens fled into their little shelter. The toucan flew screeching into the cabin. James started to cry. A storm was coming. Margaret must make the boat ready at once. What a brave girl. Brave, brave. She took in the sail and tied it tight. She dropped the anchor and stowed all the gear, while rain drummed on the deck and thunder rumbled above her. Lightning split the sky as she ran into the cabin and slammed the door against the wet wind. Now everything was safe and secure. When she lit the lamps, the cabin was bright and warm. It was nearly supper time, so Margaret mixed up a batch of muffins and slid them into the oven. She sliced some peaches and put cinnamon and honey on the top, and they went into the oven too. James was given a splashy bath in the sink. Margaret dried him in a big warm towel, and then supper was ready. Outside, the wind howled like a pack of hungry wolves. Rain lashed at the window panes, but the sturdy little Maggie Bee kept her balance and only rocked the nicest little bit. Margaret and James ate the beautiful sea stew and dunked their muffins in the broth, which tasted of all the good things that had cooked in it. For dessert, they had the peaches with cinnamon and honey and glasses of warm goat's milk. When supper was over, Margaret played old tunes on her fiddle. Then she rocked James in his cradle and sang him her favorite song. Sweet and low, wind of the western sea. Low, low, breathe and blow, wind of the western sea. Over the rolling waters go, come from the dying moon and blow. Blow him again to me while my little one, while my pretty one sleeps. These are really good illustrations. Margaret tucked in the baby's covers and took a last look at the night. The storm was not an angry one anymore. Nice steady rain made a lullaby sound on the roof of the cabin. So Margaret got into her bunk. She blew out her lamp, curled up inside her nest of blankets, and fell asleep. The day on the Margaret Bee was over. The end. The Maggie Bee. Thank you for letting me borrow this, Shasta. Thank you all for joining me. And just like the Maggie Bee, let's weather these storms together. Be safe. Take care of each other. But most of all, take care of yourself. Thank you.